If you ever wanted to run a map for 2 to 3 minutes and leave with at least one divine worth of loot, hey, I'm Cyclon and let me introduce you to Harvest. Now in the Legacy of Phrecia event, Harvest has an idle setup resulting in an insane amount of life force, able to scale a mod that we're normally unable to scale. And that mod is Chance to Not Wilt. Now, before we're going to take a closer look at the idle setup and what we gain with these maps and how we run these maps and everything, I need to mention something really quick because a lot of people will just look at this, gonna look at the idles and gonna be like, yeah, no, that's too expensive. The idles that we want to use are 2 mod idles, and those idles are gonna be expensive. However, there are 2 things worth noting for this. The first thing is that whenever you're done with the strategy, you can just resell your idols. So the term I like to use is renting. You basically buy the idols, you rent them, and then you resell the idols for what their new value at that point is, which most of the time is going to be the same or more. If you know, maybe a strat does fall off because of the value falling off and not people care about it, but then it would be worth more running. But regardless, maybe you're going to lose a little bit of value, but your idols should be about the same value. You buy them, which you sell, unless you snipe them, which then you should be able to sell them for more. The second important thing is that needs to be aware of is you can recombine idols. So you can use the recombinator table in King's March to recombine idols. I recombed all my large idols, so all my totemic and runic burial idols, and I spent about 1k chaos to get the entire setup going. So if you are taking the annoyance with buying like a crazy amount of idols, throwing them together until you finally hit good ones, and then be done, you could also be getting away with spending a lot less to set the soul thing up than if you would just buy the idols with the specific modifiers you want from them. That said, let's take a look at what we are running. So we're going to be running Harvest. Now there are gonna be a few details we need to look at, so I recommend listening to those as well and not just taking the setup and getting going. But let's take them one by one. First thing is the idle setup. The mod we care the most about is Chance to Not Wilt. Now, normally and even in this event, we could just use a Horn Scarab of Awakening to get 50% chance not to wilt. We could get the other 50% chance on idols, and we would be at 100% for our crops not to wilt, making a crop rotation setup extremely profitable. However, the Horn Scarab of Awakening is a fairly expensive scarab because of how scarce it is and how powerful it is and the demand for it. So instead of investing in a Horn Scarab of Awakening in every map we run, we're gonna adjust our strategy. We are gonna be getting as much chance to not build on our isles as possible, so we don't need the scarab, reducing our cost per map tremendously, meaning increase our gain per map, and overall making the strat way better. Now, we're not going to get to 100% chance not to build with this. We're only going to be, if you roll at least 11 out of 12% possible on each idol, to 88, or if you get each idol on max roll, 96% chance not to build. We assume that every map to every other map, one plot will build, but it doesn't matter because the cost of our maps are going to be so cheap compared to using the Scarab of Awakening that if it happens, we just go next. And again, we're running like 2 to 3 minute maps. The only time it's longer is when you get a crazy amount of harvest bosses, but those maps are usually also extremely profitable because you're going to leave them with like 15 or 20k life force. So that's how it's powerful. Now, we need 2 mod idols because there are more mods we care about to make Harvest profitable, but we really want this chance to not wilt on every single idle spot we can have. So we're using 8 large idols and they have the chance to not wilt, and then 2 of those 8s are gonna have Sacred Growth in your maps have a chance to contain additional harvest. Now we need 100% for this, so we're gonna need those scroll from 40 to 60 and we're gonna need 2 of them. So in my case, I have one with a 52 roll, so that the other one can have a 48 technically, but I went with 49. Now, as far as I know, the might scale past 100, but because we want to also get other mods, we're just going exactly 100 and getting that additional harvest plot. It could also be that it doesn't scale past 100. The reason why it might do is because the modifier can scale past 100 and isn't like your map contains the sacred growth instead of has a chance for sacred growth. So because that wording doesn't change from a chance to contain, and it on this modifier and might scale past it, but again, we just cannot scale it further because we also care about the other mod that we can get on large isles, which is increased quantity of life force. Now we want as much of this as possible, so we're getting it on all other 6 large isles, so that we have as much life force as possible per plot. Now with this massive amount of life force we're gonna get on a plot, we gonna combine it with a harvest curve of doubling to further duplicate it. We're gonna be getting base quantity of our maps applying to life force, then the life force from the idols, the life force quantity applying, and then we double it to gain those 12.5k life force on average on our maps. That will leave us with 8 spots for either 1x2s, 2x1s, or 1x1 idols. We are going to be choosing 1x1 idols. One is going to be crop rotation. As said, this scales incredibly well with the chance to wilt. Or well, chance to not wilt. Because we click on so many plots, we're gonna get a lot of good plots at the end. Now I will be adding a live example on this video for how to run this a little bit later on, but I first want to cover a few other things. For example, the other small idols. All other small idols are gonna be a little bit counterintuitive because we're gonna reduce the chance to grow yellow plants. Now, normally yellow is the most valuable plant, but we're gonna get produce a ton of every plant. We want the plant we care about the most, the least often. Because of how crop rotation works, which again you will see in the live example, we want a lot of the plant we care the least amount to click first so that the others grow a lot more. Then we're gonna grow the plant we care the second least amount second. And finally, we're gonna click on the plants on the plots where we have the color we care the most about, mostly yellow, at the end, so we gain the most juice from them. Now we will be left with a spot open, and we will be getting all of them with chance for harvest, so that we basically can replace one set with a different one very easily. So if, let's say, yellow fall, because everybody farms yellow, yellow plants suddenly worth nothing, but purple and blue are still expensive, well, we're gonna replace the reduced chance to grow from yellow to reduced purple, and then we have less purple and less blue, meaning we can target those life forces. But again, more to that in the live example. Now, with the idle setup complete, let me talk about the Scarab setup and then how we want to run the map and what we want to run. So the Scarab setup we're going to be going with is going to be a harvest scope of doubling, as already mentioned, and that's it. Because we're guaranteeing the harvest chance with the sacred growth on minor isles, we don't need a harvest scarab. And because we are having our harvest, the crop will chance scaled so hard, we don't need a awakening scarab. So we already have our scarabs covered with just the harvest scarab of doubling. Now you could argue to use a category scarab of risk to have a random modifier on your layout, but it could be a modifier that kills your map, so I'd rather not use it just to be safe and not get a breaking modifier. If you have no breaking modifiers, feel free to use it. That will just get you even more quantity on your base map, meaning you're gonna get more life force. Instead, I went with sacrifice fragments, as each sacrifice fragment gives you 5% quantity. However, it's important to note you want 4 different ones, because 2 of the same won't apply to the same map, so you're gonna need each sac frag once, and then you combine it with the harvest scope of doubling, and that will fill all your 5 map device slots if you have all slots unlocked. If you don't have all slots unlocked, you're just gonna drop some sacrifice fragments and you're gonna be fine. Now the map you want to run can be any 8 mod map. It doesn't have to be a jungle valley, it doesn't have to be a mesa or anything. Some maps are better, some maps are worse. Any layout where you can rush to the harvest easily is gonna be good. We care about them being 8 mod because 8 mod's roll was about 100 quantity. So on top of the 100 quantity of life force from our idols and the duplication, we can net another 100 quantity just from using 8 mod maps. Now we're gonna consume a lot of these maps and we're gonna not produce most maps in our map because we're gonna be rushing the harvest. This means that this is a consumption and is part of the cost. You will need to buy those 8 mod maps in bulk, but again, we don't need any specific map. We can run them on any available 8 mod map as long as it's a layout where you can rush to the harvest. Just care about that there isn't any negative modifiers for you. So we put an 8 mod map in, we put our scarabs in, and we open the map. Now the great thing is that we can still add an influence. So we can add Ether influence or Exarch influence and just proc the influence as we rush to the harvest. Do the harvest, where we're gonna try to do it as quickly as possible, leave the map. And only every 28 maps we actually need to kill the map boss to get the Ether or the Exarch invitation, and then we are done, making the map incredibly easy to run as long as we have a stable supply of 8 mod maps or just buying them and then buying the harvest scab of doubling. Now, there's one last thing I want to mention before we're gonna get into the live example, and that is additional gains. There are 3 things, or I guess 2 things, that we can get in our maps that are a neat bonus. Sometimes from your harvest enemies, you're gonna get an Aven Pursuit. The Aven Pursuit is a div card that gives you an Ina memory of Harvest Beast. It's just a neat little bonus thing you can grab, and it's just additional value, right? Each div card is about 60 chaos, and it will go up as Harvest Beast gain in value. The other thing is you will sometimes gain Sacred Life Force. You're gonna get Sacred Blossom, and if you do it, you're gonna get a Sacred Crystallized Life Force, and you're gonna have a good chance at a Forbidden Shaco. And if that Forbidden Shaco rolls well on the higher level mod, so the 31 plus mod, if it rolls anything that is good like Impending Doom or Ice Bite, you make big bank. It's just a neat little bonus that doesn't take too much additional time. The last thing that you're gonna get that is neat, it's not really good, but you're gonna get a few uniques from the T4 seeds, and you can use those to get some additional dust from your King's March town. Now, this being said, I'm gonna send you to the live demonstration, and after that, you will be at the end of the video. So, starting with the live demonstration, we have our idol setup, we have our scarab, we have our 8 mod map, we have our sacrifice fragments. Gonna load into the map. Once we're inside the map, we're gonna locate the harvest as quickly as possible. We're gonna ignore everything we have in the map. We're gonna proc the influence. Yeah, the influence procced. So by the way, if we enter the harvest, so we have 3 blue, 1 yellow. Now, why we want yellow the most, it's not good to only have 1 at the end. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna first get all the purple out of the way, because we have the most of the purple here. Sometimes we gonna high roll blue or yellow, so we're gonna do those first, but we do the one we have the most first, because they're all on a similar value. And of course, we force a specific one if this changes, and one life force is worth a lot more than others. But we, again, just first clear all out on the purple encounters, because they actually are all just T1 and T2 seeds. They are very easy to clear, very quick to clear. We're already cleared out 4 purple. Here we had the 12% for me, the 12% chance to wilt basically existing still. Did happen. This is the one plot, but it's okay. Now you can see that the yellows at 7 and the blue ones aren't quite there yet. But if we also do the yellow, which we basically now gotten a yellow 7 for free on top of having 3 juiced blue plots, which are gonna get 1 more grow. So this one is going from 3 now to 3 and 1 unique. I'm gonna die here. I don't have corrupted blood immunity. Never mind, I survived. So now we run the blue plots to finish this. Running blue plot 1. The boss is gonna take a moment because he has guaranteed immunity phases. The one only really annoying thing with Harvest, which sometimes take a little bit of longer time, is when the bosses bug out and don't go into the tree phase where they spawn the minions. Because then you just need to wait for it to hit you or do something so that you can progress with your encounter. You should have clicked on the top one first, because there is still the tiny chance to wilt, so it could have wilted. So if you, on the end, if you need to decide between two good ones you want to run, you click on the good one first, because they're not gonna upgrade further anyway. So where we had 8, 7, 3, so that's 13 slots. T3 beasts plus 3 T4 beasts that we've gotten. And the map, as you can see down here, is about to hit 3 minutes. Because of the... We would have already been done if we didn't had another 2 T4 beasts that refused to go in the tree phase. This is what I meant. This is the only annoying part here. One is already done, while the other refuses to go into the immunity phase. There we go. Now it's in the tree phase. And we are gonna be leaving this map with 2.4k yellow. And it's gonna be 9. And 9.6k blue. So this is not quite 12.5, but very close to 12.5k life force that we're leaving the map with in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Including live demo. Now, if I've forgotten anything, if anything is unclear about how to run this, how to acquire the scarabs or anything, feel free to ask me. Message me over in the comment section over Discord or when I'm live streaming. I will try to answer as quick as possible. All this being said, if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and I'll be seeing you in my next video or live on Twitch. Goodbye.